Sometimes I wonder if you can get juice from a potato.
Nickelodeon is synonymous with our childhood. Many of the network's hit shows were suitable for kids, but each of them held something deeper than we could ever understand at the time. Some shows even outlived their expiration date and are still being discussed today. In many cases, we find that there was a lot more to these shows than we initially thought, with many of them holding secrets that weren't apparent until we got older. Nick shows are no exception, with many of its iconic shows having layers of obscure details, and some even hiding in plain sight.
All night? Okay. Sheila Emma.
Welcome to The Rewind. These are hidden secrets behind classic Nickelodeon shows. Before we begin, make sure to give this video a like and hit that subscribe button for good luck. Nickelodeon, an endless source of unforgettable moments through the shows that gave us so much to remember fondly. It almost hurts to say that most of these shows hold a darker truth than we're led to believe. But that's just how things are with just about anything when taking a look behind the scenes. Some of these bits of information have been documented a good amount online, while some might come as a shock to you. We'll work our way up the ladder, so buckle up for a not-so-nostalgic trip down memory lane.
I have a confession to make.
You're bald?
No, I'm not bald!
Conspiracies. We'll start things off with the least offensive bunch, as these secrets aren't necessarily proven facts, nor outright debunked. Ever wondered why Timmy Turner never seems to age past 10 years old? Growing up results in a child losing their fairies and losing all memories tied to them. So it's believed that Timmy wished for everyone to stop aging during the episode Timmy's Secret Wish, which would explain a lot of things.
I secretly wish that everyone would stop aging so that I could stay 10 years old and keep my fairies forever.
When did you make this wish?
50 years ago?
The Bikini Bottom is full of eclectic undersea life and all sorts of antics with SpongeBob and his friends. However, this normal underwater town is said to actually be a nuclear waste site. I mean, have you ever stopped to think why sea creatures can talk in the first place? If you paid attention in history class, you may know that the first nuclear missile tests were held over Bikini Atoll in the mid-1900s. SpongeBob and his friends live right below the atoll, and so their city is called Bikini Bottom.
Let's eat. Oops.
Did you know that Nickelodeon had an opportunity to run Adventure Time when the show was first created? As many of you may already know, Adventure Time was featured on Cartoon Network and was met with massive success. For this reason, it's a real bummer that Nickelodeon turned it down because it was, get this, too weird. Moving on to Rugrats, people have speculated that the show featured hints of anti-Semitism. It's no secret that the Pickles are a Jewish family, with the show being lauded for its religious diversity. However, there was one scene where Grandpa Boris was depicted as a Jewish caricature, similar to those in the Nazi era. Nickelodeon responded to the outrage by simply removing the character.
Don't mention my father's name. Can't you see how it upsets my mother?
You may not believe it, but some crimes have been inspired by TV shows. Invader Zim was speculated to be the leading cause of a murder where a man named Scott Edgar Dileski killed his neighbor Pamela Vitale due to his fascination with body parts. The suspect claimed to have been inspired by the Invader Zim episode Dark Harvest, where Zim collects organs from his unsuspecting classmates, being the darkest episode in the series.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love the young people.
Cancellations. Not every show gets to live a full lifespan. Some are taken off the air before you get a chance to notice they're even gone. Other shows have gotten out of a pinch though, staring cancellation dead in the face, but miraculously avoiding it for one reason or another. SpongeBob almost met a dark end in 2014, where false rumors accused lead voice actor Tom Kenny of being involved with minors. The show was being pushed for cancellation by fans during the outrage, but at the end of the day, it was nothing more than a rumor with no solid foundation.
Firmly grasp it!
One show that did get canceled was Zoe 101 after the lead actress, Jamie Lynn Spears, got pregnant at 16. When the news went public, Nickelodeon decided to end the show after just 4 years. It was never stated who impregnated Jamie Lynn, but many fans of the show had their suspicions about who it could be. We'll come back to that later though. If that wasn't enough, co-star Logan Reese was arrested for possession in 2012, then again for violating his probation. Luckily, by then, he didn't have any ties to the network.
Oh, I hate vanilla.
Inappropriate jokes and innuendos. To be fair, a lot of kids' shows did have adult humor sprinkled in their writing and their colorful imagery. But there's a fine line between subtle nods and catered adult content. One show by the name You Can't Do That on Television was initially quite successful as a teenager's version of Saturday Night Live with sketch-style comedy and child actors. It began in Canada, but was also aired in the US until, that is, a particularly dark episode caused major controversy. In the sketch, an adoptive father sends his son back to the orphanage. Now, this might have been funny in context, although it's doubtful, but deemed too dark by American censors. The episode was never aired again in the US, but the episode still airs in Canada, so I guess one of us can take a joke better than the other.
No, I haven't just been adopted recently. I hope I haven't been adopted at all.
Censors always have limits. Well, unless you're Rocco's Modern Life. Now that show, that was notorious for its dark stories and low-key adult content that still somehow made it past the censors. Still, for all the jokes that slipped by the editors, there was one that had to be deleted before the episode aired. In Road Rash, Rocco and Heifer stay at the No-Tell Motel, and there's a scene where they have to explain that they want a room for a whole night rather than the conventional 20 minutes. The implication here is fairly vague, even for the older audiences, but the scene was nevertheless cut from the episode.
You can have room now. How long you want?
Just till tomorrow.
All night?
Exploited child actors. It's no secret that many of Nickelodeon's most famous live-action shows were also infamous for the traumas endured by their youngest stars. The sketch comedy show All That, which featured many talented child stars, wasn't so fun and giddy behind the scenes. Child Protective Services had to be called when it was revealed that actors were being abused throughout their tenure on the series. The show's creators told one of their stars to stay quiet so as not to bring negative attention to the show, where it stayed a secret until years later. The legalities in the acting industry are shady enough as it is, and they become more so when children are involved. Back when Nickelodeon first started out, there were very few legal provisions for child actors. In those days, they were paid only once for their appearance in a show, and that's it. Unlike today, they got no residual fees each time their episode aired. Luckily, the industry evolved to become more accommodating and fair to child actors. But still, a lot of our favorite actors from childhood didn't turn out as dignified as we'd have hoped. So perhaps the system isn't quite perfect yet.
We'll even give you a paper bag to take her home in.
Allegations. By far, one of the worst controversies to come out of our favorite Nick shows stems from a majority of their live-action shows, specifically those directed by Dan Schneider before he was urgently cut off by Nickelodeon. Everyone has heard the stories and allegations by now. We've even caught on to many of Schneider's tendencies to showcase his fetishes through his young actresses, mainly when it comes to their feet. He's also the reason why shows like Victorious and Sam and Cat were taken off the air almost abruptly. Remember when we said fans had their suspicions on who could have impregnated Jamie Lynn Spears? Dan Schneider was on the top of that list, which wouldn't surprise anyone. Mind you, the actress was 16 at the time. On the topic of Dan Schneider shows, Drake Bell from the hit show Drake and Josh was also met with tons of controversy when he allegedly had a sexual relationship with a minor during his time on set. Now, we could go further, but we don't want to taint your childhood memories any more than we already have. What do you think of this list? Before you leave, don't forget to give this video a like and leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Check out these other videos from the Rewind, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of our future uploads.